We've got the recording started.
Sweet, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the CAFO Advisory Committee meeting. This meeting is being recorded. I thought we can start just with some introductions, and we can go through the CAC members first, and then ODA staff, and then partners and others first. So I don't see Dan Luthold on. Alice?
Hi all, this is Alice Morrison with Friends of Family Farmers. Good morning, happy to be with you.
Good morning. Is Carol Lorenzen on? No. I see Dave May.
Yeah, good morning, folks. David May, Valley Fresh Foods Incorporated. We are your egg people.
Welcome. Everybody's talking about egg people all the time these days, so.
Yes, it's a warm feeling we get every day.
Yeah. Somebody made the joke the other day that you now can buy your marijuana in a store and you buy your eggs on the street from your neighbor who's selling them. So.
Well, there was an article saying the U.S. government had interdicted a number of illegal egg smuggling border crossings, and that the drug smuggling had gone down, but the egg smuggling had gone way up.
Wow. Maybe you can expand on that and then some agent or in some industry updates later. Is Tammy Stark on? No. Tom Thompson?
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, Tom. Austin? No. And then Zach Wilson? Okay. Then can we go through ODA staff really quick? It's on. Good morning. I'm Isaac Stapleton. I'm the Natural Resources Division Director for ODA, filling in as the CAFO manager for now until we get that position hired, and I'll give you guys an update on that later. Christy, you want to go next?
Hi, this is Christy Caldwell, and I am the CAFO program analyst.
Awesome. Katie?
Hi, Katie Carney. I'm a livestock water quality specialist and administrative process coordinator.
Thank you. Tasha?
Hi, I'm Tasha Shorak. I'm the fertilizer and pesticide product registration specialist here to help with some meeting minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Who do we have on from DEQ?
I'm here. Hello, this is Taylor West. I am DEQ's Water Quality Division CAFO Program Specialist.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody from EPA? See a couple of you.
Hi, Isaac. This is Tony Barber. I'm the Oregon Operations Office Director for EPA in Portland.
Morning, Tony. Is Nick on? I thought I saw him. Maybe not.
I don't see him.
No,
I thought
he's
he might
not going to be able to make the meeting.
Oh, okay. Anybody from NRCS?
Yeah, good morning. This is Amy Roner. I'm the state conservation engineer. I guess I can pop on a camera too if it works. So good morning. I think this is actually the first one I've made, and I've been up here for a year. So finally, thanks.
Anyone else with you with NRCS?
Hi, everyone. My name's Josh Hall, and I'm the state agronomist for NRCS, and I've been in this position since October, so this is my first meeting too.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Any other state or federal agency partners? I don't think so. Okay, so just going down the list. Jennifer Cruikshank, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning. Jennifer Cruikshank, Oregon State University Extension.
Morning. Karen?
Are you looking for KG?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Karen Gerfen-Glick, and I'm with Ag Professionals. I'm the Vice President of Communications and Strategic Planning, and we are an agriculture consultancy firm group.
Nice. Welcome. Tammy Kerr.
Good morning, Tammy Kerr, Oregon Dairy Farmers. Was on my phone for a few minutes and just able to join online now. Thank you.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you were the phone number that we saw earlier.
Yes.
Great. Tara Heinzen.
Yeah, good morning. Tara Heinzen with Food and Water Watch.
Okay. And did I miss anyone? I think I got everyone. Awesome. Okay. So we'll do a really quick review of November's meeting minutes and see if anybody has comments or edits. So last meeting was held November 26th, so it's been a bit. At that time, we talked a lot about SB 85 outreach plan that was currently in the process. We had finished those rules back in the fall, and then we're doing a bunch of outreach around the state with producers to let them know all the changes that occurred to the CAFO rules. So that was one thing that was presented. We also talked about the Lower Umatilla Basin Groundwater Management Area's nitrate reduction plan, which is a multi-state agency effort to look at ways to reduce additionality of nitrates into that aquifer. So that was a big document that came out in the fall as well, and that work continues to be implemented. And then there was a short discussion on the general permit for MPDS and timelines for all types of permits, which we'll touch on again today. And give you guys a status update on that. And then we also talked about the CAFO manager recruitment that was currently active. And that's not on the agenda today, but I'll give you guys a quick update on that one. So that recruitment had failed. We had 2 failed recruitments, and we put it back out for a third. It closed on April 7th. We got a pretty decent suite of candidates, and we'll start interviews next Thursday, actually. So hopefully by the next time we have another CAC meeting, I'll be introducing you to the new program manager, and they'll take over from there. So that's super exciting. There's some really, really strong candidates in the pool, and hopefully we can entice them to accept an offer, and it'll be great. Does anybody have any comments or corrections for the meeting minutes from last time for the CAC members? No? Okay. Hearing none, those are good to go. Okay, Katie, we'll pivot over to you, and you can give everyone an update on where we're at with the general permit update, and in some broad strokes and what they can expect.
Okay, hello everyone. If you missed my introduction, I'm Katie Carney. I'm a CAFO livestock water quality specialist and the administrative process coordinator, so a hybrid position. And I have been working on the NPDS permit rewrite and update with Taylor West at DEQ. But I'm just going to give everyone some brief history on our NPDS permit. So we had the NPDS general permit 2016 that expired in September 2021. Before the expiration date, we administratively extended it. And then on September 16th, 2021, ODA and DEQ noticed the proposed CAFO NPDS general permit. There was a public hearing in October of 2021, and then the public comment period closed October 25th, 2021. So during the public comment review process, ODA and DEQ decided to postpone issuance of the proposed permit and decided that they would be substantially revising the version that went out to public notice. In the meantime, the NPDS permit, there were NPDS permit challenges in neighboring states, and Senate Bill 85 went into effect. So these two things kind of slowed down the process of reissuing the NPDS permit. So like I said, it's been administratively extended, but ODA and DEQ have resumed writing the permit to include changes from SB 85. And we're also considering the comments that were submitted in 2021 while we go through this process. We are early in the process of revising it and rewriting. And we are planning right now to go to public notice for the general permit this summer 2025. And at answer questions, so that'll be different from the public hearing. We won't be taking public comment, but we'll be taking questions and we'll answer those. And like I said, that'll be at the start of the public comment period. And then we'll have our regular public hearing where we'll take public comments, and then we'll have that regular 35-day public comment window. And hoping that by the July CAC meeting, we'll have more substantial updates. But right now, I can answer any general questions. Isaac, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, so just really quick, I don't know if Katie cut out for everyone else, but you did for me.
Okay.
So what I think we missed Katie saying was that early on in the public comment process, we intend to have like an informational hearing for folks, for the public, that we can talk through the various provisions of the permit and the fact sheet and why the permit is structured the way it is, to better inform folks prior to the public comment process. So that, I think, maybe other people didn't hear, but yeah, that's what she was getting at when she popped back in. So that's a little different, but we wanted to make sure to be as transparent and forward as possible in that, and that just gets us better public comment, frankly, and through the process, so that people understand all the little bits and pieces and the ins and outs of the permit before they give us feedback. The other thing I would add, Katie, before we take any questions is, if y'all remember, Senate Bill 85 now requires a permit to have a water supply plan upon renewal for any existing permits. And so through that renewal process, so everybody has already who was on that permit has renewed to that extended permit, and they're kind of, held stable until we do something with a new one. We'll have to go back out and notice all of those permits again once we actually have a new general permit. And at that time, they're going to have a water supply plan that we also notice. So we'll be sending out some more communication around that as we get closer, with enough leave time for folks to start working on that. But like an early heads up that we'll be also needing that, and then communicating with permit holders as well early, so that they can work with their water masters if needed, if they have questions on it. So just adding that. So is there any questions on the NPDS general permit? Yeah, Alice.
Just to clarify the timeline, I know you said this summer, and do you anticipate that the informational or question session will happen before or after this committee's July meeting, or should we look for that after this committee's July meeting?
It's a good question. Katie, do you remember kind of what we were thinking in terms of where it falls in the timeline? I know, before Katie answers, we are trying to get it done as quick as possible. So that's why we're a little vague with the exact dates, because we know this has been a long time coming and it needs to get done. So we're trying to work very efficiently and diligently to get it out. So, but I'll let Katie answer in terms of what we were thinking at this point.
I would say around that July meeting. If we are going to have that informational session before our CAC meeting, we'll definitely communicate with this group of people and let them know. But I think probably after that. We haven't scheduled it yet, but I imagine it'll be just after that.
Alice, was there a particular concern or thought you had around that?
No, not at all. Just as we're planning, we have a lot of staff who are going to be out this summer and planning capacity wise. We want to make sure that somebody can attend the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like there's never a good time of year to do things anymore. It's either holiday season, well, this year it's legislative session, or it's like vacations or spring. I just like it's a struggle. It always seems like there's something going on somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It never
appreciate that.
get different busy, never
Yeah.
slower, different.
Yep. Anyone else? Questions? Yeah, like Katie said, we'll have more details on like changes that we're proposing as we move down the road because it's still early in the process of doing a deep dive review to make sure that we're solid on all the different components. And learning from our neighboring states too that have recently put out new permits, both Idaho and Washington. So um, we'll keep that ball rolling. Okay, if there's no other questions on that, we can move to talking about the WPCF permit renewal process. We're flying through this agenda since there's no questions, so we might get out early and give you guys some time back. But so the WPCF permit, our general permit, is set to expire on September 30th of this year. So like the NPDS permit, since we're doing that work in that permit development, we don't have the capacity to do both at the same time. And so we will be administratively extending that permit as well. There's 142 folks that are on that permit. And I think, Christy, were letters sent out today or they're going out this week at least?
They were taken down to the mailroom yesterday, so they will probably go out to today or tomorrow.
Okay. Can you just give a brief description of what folks who have that permit, what they'll be receiving in the mail? What's in that packet?
Yep. So we included a cover letter just to tell a little bit about what's going on. There's a renewal form that needs to be filled out. There's several boxes that need to be checked. And it has to be signed and dated when it comes to us. There's also the water supply plan with it. We figured we'd go ahead and start getting those together for this permit, so we'd have them ready when we get this permit ready. And then there's also instructions on how to fill out the water supply plan. And then there's an envelope that's included so you can send the stuff back to us.
Yeah, and we need to receive. Oh yeah, go ahead, Tammy.
Just a quick question, Isaac. Can you verify how many permit holders have a WPCF?
Yeah, it's 142.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's definitely fewer on the WPCF than the NPDS, but it's a decent chunk of folks. So the deadline for folks to get that renewal paperwork back to us so that they don't fall off the permit and then end up out of compliance because they're operating a CAFO without the appropriate permit because they fell off, is August 1st. So that's very clear in the letter that we sent out, tried to really call attention to that so that folks know. I imagine we'll also be sending out reminders as we get closer, and then bird dogging folks. The last thing we want is for anybody to miss that for any reason and fall off because, yeah, it's just, there's no reason that somebody should fall off. If somebody wants to cancel, that's great. But so, oh yeah, Tammy, do you have another question?
Nope, just didn't drop my hand.
Oh, sorry, I thought maybe it popped back up there. What else was I going to say about that?
Well, we need time to. Oh, sorry, Isaac.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say we need time. We need time to review all of these and make sure that everything is covered in the renewals that we receive. So that's kind of why we made that deadline.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I would remind folks too is, as you're going through this renewal process, if there's changes that need to be updated on a nutrient management plan or things like that, get that done early. Don't wait till the deadline and send us something to review and want to make changes. So folks should be thinking about that early if there are things that they're wanting to change on their operations. The other thing is a lot of the work that Katie and team are doing now on the NPDES permit will help us when we get to the WPCF permit. So I don't anticipate that one to be as drawn out as this last process has been. I mean, there were several things that got on our way for the NPDES permit. SB 85 just being the most current one. So I think that renewal process for that one will be much quicker. But any other questions on the WPCF? Y'all are being way too nice today. Okay. Yeah, so we do an annual report every year, or we're supposed to. The 2023 and the 2024 were just completed. Christy, are those posted up on the website now?
Yes, they are.
Great. And if we want, we can also draw. Thanks. Thanks for the clapping. It shouldn't be the person who's supposed to review them doesn't have time and get back to the staff who want the review done. So I will take the blame for the delay. Christy, could you just drop like the links in the chat just so people have it handy?
Sure.
And I was going to pull it up really quick. I'm going to steal the share screen from you.
Okay. I'll hit my button.
Can you guys all see the annual report? Yeah. Yes. Okay. I was just gonna skim through it. I think it would be really great to hear from this group of things that you would like to see in this in the future, things that you like about it, things that you don't like about it. I think it could be improved, and it's a great tool now for giving some base statistics about the number of permittees and the things that we do, and our key performance measure for the legislature. But we are certainly open to looking at how we present this information, or if there's information that others would like to see and make it useful for folks. So it's got its introduction. Talks about our areas and where we have staff located, who they are, gives a map, right? It gives you some real basic general statistics up front. So lets you, calls out early how many permits that we have. So 485. I think in 2023 we had 486, if I remember. So not a lot of overall change. There was some movement around in permits, but the total stayed pretty close. And then you can see here the breakdown of NPDES and WPCF, either general or individual. So that's a pretty handy resource for folks who are just looking for some quick information about what the state is actually permitting. And then it dives into the various areas that we have internally designated for staff workloads and the types and sizes that exist in those areas. One thing I was thinking about when we were reviewing this is maybe it makes more sense to do a county by county instead of an area thing, but I would love to hear feedback on that one if folks prefer or understand the area version versus a county by county. And then we, talk about animal types and the different areas with those permits. We talk about inspections, the different types of inspections that we do. So not everything that we do is a routine inspection. There's various other components and aspects of the program. Generally, when we talk about program performance, we are talking about our routine inspections because that's what the legislature has set for us as a key performance measure, and we report out on that. Talks about the number of types of inspections. So where is our KPM? Sorry if I'm scrolling and making you guys dizzy. Yeah, so it's basically the percent of facilities in compliance at the time of a routine inspection. And so I think our target is 97 by the legislature, and we are at 97 for our compliance rate, which is good. And then we talk about just general enforcement types and things like that. So I won't go through the rest of it, but if folks had thoughts once they have time to take a look at it, happy to get any feedback, or if you have, feedback now too. Christy, is there anything else you want to add about our annual reports?
The only thing I have to add is that we'd like to try to refresh it a bit and get it down to a lesser amount of pages, because 24 pages this year, we're down from 30, but 24 pages is still quite a lot for somebody to read. And we want to try to get that information out there the easiest way that everybody will be able to interpret it. So yeah, any comments, suggestions, I would be glad to hear those.
So if you do have comments or questions, you can email them in directly to Christy. I think that's probably the most efficient way to do it. And Christy can pop her email into the chat too, so people have that handy.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Okay, so man, we're a whole half hour early. Is there anybody here that, oh yeah, Taylor, go ahead.
Hi, I'm just jumping in because I have to hop off the call soon, and I'm wondering if it's possible for me to just pop in with my little survey update.
Yeah, we can shift and go to some industry updates if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for your flexibility. I'm at a conference in Idaho, and I have to jump back into the mix of that. Okay, really quick update on DEQ's front. Hi everyone, I'm Taylor West. I am DEQ's CAFO program specialist, and I work really closely with all of the fine folks at ODA. And I have an update that is separate from all of this, but related. Some kind of side projects that DEQ is working on that I just want to make sure you all are aware of and have the opportunity to engage in. So DEQ's Water Quality Division is working on a broad statewide strategy to improve how we manage nutrients from a wide range of human activities and just broadly improve how we prevent pollution to Oregon's waterways. So an important part of informing this statewide nutrient strategy is to better understand the water quality concerns and priorities that community members across the state have. So DEQ is currently partnering with an organization called Oregon's Kitchen Table to engage folks all across the state in this process. And one piece of that is a survey that we created collaboratively that hopefully some of you have already seen through some email channels. But this survey is a great opportunity for folks to share their experiences with nutrients and express different ideas for how we can do a better job of keeping Oregon's waterways safe and clean for drinking, recreation, wildlife, and all the other reasons that we all love and depend on water. So, in an effort to gather diverse perspectives, it would be super awesome to hear from CAFO producers and folks across the agriculture industry, both on just like a personal level, but also like with that industry perspective, because those insights and ideas will directly help shape a statewide plan. So I just wanted to make sure that you all know about this strategy and also had a link to the survey to share with your members if you feel inclined. And I'll drop that link in the chat in just a moment. It's a bit belated because the survey does close next Tuesday. So if you think your members would be interested in offering their insights, I definitely encourage you to send that out soon. But the survey is also just a first step in this whole long process that DEQ is engaging in. So beyond that, DEQ and Oregon's Kitchen Table will be hosting community forums throughout the month of May. And this is going to be a really casual conversation setting for folks to come in and discuss nutrients in the state. And then insights from the survey will also be provided at that time if you're curious about learning more. So I will drop a link into the chat that takes you to DEQ's homepage or DEQ's webpage about this, and also Oregon Kitchen Table's webpage about this, that has the link for the survey, explains more about this whole statewide plan, which is still very much in process, in progress. And then there's information and links for additional ways to get involved or to just stay informed about how this work evolves going forward. And then if you're feeling really jazzed in this moment and really excited about this topic and you have specific questions or think this could be a good opportunity to host a community conversation amongst your members, feel free to just reach out to me directly. And I'm super happy to connect you with project leaders to support that process. If you're not interested in engaging, that is totally fine too. This is just, let me just be clear, this is not DEQ's attempt to like impose further regulation. This is very much an effort to improve how we engage community members in broader concerns that they have or ideas that they have for how we can work with everyone to just do a better job of protecting Oregon's waterways. Okay. That's all I have. I'll drop some links in the chat. Feel free to follow those, check them out. And then otherwise, please feel free to reach out to me directly.
Okay. Taylor, looks like Tom has a question.
Yes, Tom.
Yeah, quick question, two-part question. One, I had a question about the Oregon Kitchen Table leading the survey instead of just the department itself. But the B part, I about a month ago when I first heard about that, I went on that line and I signed up for the survey and I started going through it. And I just felt the survey, the questions weren't, they were kind of nebulous. I don't know. I can't think of the right word, but they didn't seem specific enough to the task and maybe biased, but maybe, you know what I mean? I just, so I backed out of the survey because it didn't allow me to express my thoughts as much as forcing a yes, no type of answer. So.
Yeah. Thank you for those thoughts, Tom. To address the first part, so I think my understanding is, DEQ has attempted surveys in the past and maybe hasn't gone about it in like the most equitable way that they could. And so part of us trying to improve our community engagement practices was to bring in kind of this third party facilitator, because Oregon's Kitchen Table really specializes in community engagement practices and has worked on all kinds of projects with communities throughout Oregon. And so we're trying to draw on their expertise to approach this in a just more general and more thoughtfully engaged way to garner feedback from communities that historically haven't been represented in DEQ's processes. And I think that actually kind of maybe speaks to why the survey feels so broad in general and maybe not as specific as it could be. There's a team of folks who went through a process of trying to identify what questions made the most sense. And I think in this phase of this process, the hope was to just really get a very general idea of like, how are people thinking about nutrients? And, that's everyone from like who goes down to the river with their dog, or is, tapping into their well water or whatever it is. And so trying to be unbiased and really general, but I'm also, that's really good feedback for me to hear that you felt like it wasn't a great place for you to really offer your insights. And I know from my perspective, like I really value the insights of the folks in this group. And so if the survey doesn't feel like a good place to really provide your honest thoughts, I would definitely encourage you to attend the community forums, because that's going to be a really open-ended way to just share anything and everything that's on your mind. And also, if you felt like maybe a community conversation would be a good way to have a more kind of specific space to share insights from your unique perspective, please let me know. And I'm super happy to kind of facilitate that process, because we want to get as much feedback as possible. And if the survey is not the best way to do that, then let's find another way.
Taylor, is DEQ open to suggestions about other ways to engage? Like if folks, maybe the community conversation isn't preferable, or they would prefer like targeted outreach to a specific industry with like industry related questions around nutrient use and importance. Are you guys open to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the like challenges, but also like beautiful aspects of the process where it's at right now is that it's very kind of open and free flowing, and we're really trying to create that space to get feedback for not just what are your thoughts about nutrients, but how can we better engage folks all across the state on this process, because this survey and the community forums and the community conversations, like all of that is information that will help inform what a statewide plan could look like going forward. So it's really phase one, and there are going to be a lot of other ways to engage going forward. And so any and all ideas for how to do that in the best way possible, we are super open to. So yes, please follow up with me and let me know what your thoughts are.
Great. Jennifer.
Yeah, just trying to get a better sense of who the targets of this survey are. Is it basically everybody in Oregon, or is it more targeted than that? Okay.
It's very broad, everyone in Oregon. And part of that too is kind of an educational component of helping folks understand that like we all interact with nutrients on a daily basis. And what does that look like? What are folks' experiences with that? And helping us all get on the same page of what that looks like, so that folks are better informed about how they can offer input for a statewide nutrient strategy. So yes, very broadly, community members all across the state. And I just know that this group in particular, like, has a very intimate relationship with nutrients and like a very different understanding and interaction with them. So that's super valuable. And one thing that even came to my mind in this process was that I think a lot of folks around Oregon like don't have a super great understanding of some of the like complex nutrient processes playing out. And so, could this be an opportunity for folks in the agricultural realm and in the CAFO world to help educate broader community members about like what different industries are doing across the state to help manage nutrients, as we all kind of increase our awareness and understanding of them. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for what this could look like going forward. And that's why, I appreciate you all letting me share where we're at with this so that we can improve upon it.
David, did you still have a question?
Well, I've kind of withdrawn it. I want to see the survey first. I do want to, I have concern on how widespread it will be, and would like to know, would want to see what their distribution and returns are based on the graphical locations of the responders. A survey that is heavily, I mean, I'm seeing something on the web where this is related to something that's housed at Portland State. If the saturation of the survey, the returns from the survey are heavily urban, then you're going to skew the state. I think it would skew the survey significantly.
Mm-hmm.
So, relative to getting more of the rural agricultural areas of the state involved.
Yes.
Concerned that we end up with an urban versus rural bias in the response.
Yeah. So one of the reasons that we brought Oregon's Kitchen Table into this, again, was to really try and kind of like get out of some of those bubbles that like we typically get feedback from constituents on. And so I know that Oregon's Kitchen Table is, working hard to try and kind of break some of those biases and channel some of those communities that historically have not necessarily had the opportunity to share input. So that would be more rural communities and farming communities and other folks that we haven't typically heard from. That said, again, the survey is really just a starting point. So it's not like the most scientifically robust survey out there. And we are very much taking that into account in terms of the kind of information that we get, which is why the survey is really just one aspect of like, what are people hearing about nutrients? What are some general interactions and understandings of them? But then something I appreciate about the survey is it's kind of a starting point for getting more feedback about like how can we garner more insight. And so I think the survey is a really good starting point, but it is also kind of like taking it with a grain of salt as just one aspect to inform this process. And so, for example, something that could come out of it is like, hey, we need like a more robust survey process. And I think part of why we're trying to not make it as like intensive as it could be is because we know that there's like a lot of burnout around surveys, and there are like so many other facets of the nutrient conversation playing out in different organizations and agencies. And so I think we're trying to be mindful of not being redundant or overstepping, but really just this being a piece in the process. So I definitely hear you on those concerns and really appreciate that. And I think that kind of information is exactly what we're looking for in terms of how we proceed with this statewide strategy. So thank you for that.
Yeah, one thing I will say for Oregon's Kitchen's Table, they are housed out of the Hatfield School at PSU, but they have done these community engagement things throughout Oregon on various different scales. So whether that's working with like some issues on the Rogue River or healthcare in Baker County, or they did a ton of work with the integrated water resources strategy in terms of community engagement and outreach to inform a lot of that work. So they're kind of a nice neutral third party to go out and have a conversation where sometimes it's folks don't necessarily want to talk directly to a state agency. And so it's kind of this other way to approach engaging folks around the state too. Tammy?
Yeah, hopefully a quick question for Katie. You said that the survey, is not scientifically robust, but what is the intent of the information that you gather? And then I might have a follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have phrased it that way, but really the survey is just trying to get to the very bare bones of like, what do people understand about nutrients? Is that something that they're thinking about? Is that something they're concerned about when they're going out to recreate on the water or turning their faucet on? Like really getting a general understanding of how are people thinking about nutrients, understanding nutrients in their community, and then that information will help inform the kinds of questions we ask in the community forums, and then kind of how we then approach like pursuing a broader nutrient strategy. So it's really just gathering information for how we can like if we come to find out that people are very concerned in different areas, you know, then how can we like engage more thoughtfully with those communities to address those concerns? Or if people don't have interactions or an understanding of how they engage with nutrients in their communities, how can we best meet their needs to improve that understanding? And so, yeah, again, very broad baseline understanding that will inform Oregon's nutrient strategy going forward. And also, I am one person on like a big team of people working on this, and I'll drop those links in the chat. And the Oregon Kitchen Table and DEQ's website has a lot more information about what the heck is going to come out of this information gathering process and what our plan is going forward.
Taylor, it might be really helpful to have someone from ODA to explain the CAFO program during the kitchen table meeting so that the general public that you're trying to reach has a good understanding of what the current regulations and oversights are and the processes through that. I think that's really a significant part of misunderstanding. And even when we go through CAFO hearings, there's often a lot of statements that are made that are just not true. So
yeah,
it'd be nice to get some good baseline, accurate information. This is what the state requires. This is what does not fall under the permit, and to lay that groundwork. So, and in my experience over the years, Oregon Kitchen Table really hasn't worked directly with production agriculture. So,
yeah, and I
but I
think
understand
because
you're working with a different audience across the state, but also looking at feedback from different regions, and yeah, you'll gather a lot of interesting data, I'm sure.
Yeah, we hope so. And I appreciate that perspective because I know that Oregon's Kitchen Table, yeah, they've done a lot of really great work across the state. And I know that they worked with different farmer groups, but not necessarily as closely with the CAFO industry. And I know that that's something that they're like excited about. And that's kind of why I was encouraged to, you know, share this information and be as transparent as possible with you all in this meeting because we really want to be inclusive of um, industries and communities across the state. And also like, yeah, just getting that like personal, more individual feedback because the folks who comprise the industry are also community members in Oregon. And I think what you're talking about with like, yeah, helping community members better understand like what is happening in the CAFO industry and how is the industry working to manage nutrients in a, you know, thoughtful, sustainable way. I think that's where like that is a very possible outcome of this sort of process. Um, and I think is another reason why I wanted to bring it to you all today is that like how could we all work together to bring more of that information to community members? Could that be, you know, having some industry folks share out that information at a community forum or a community conversation? So Tammy, I really appreciate that perspective and would love to learn more from you all about how we can educate the public and you know, help folks really understand what the nutrient landscape looks like. So these are all great ideas, and I encourage you all to share that through the survey format and through these community forums.
Any other questions for Taylor? I have one more, and then we'll let you off the hook.
Okay.
I mean, I could ask you lots more questions, but I'll just ask you one more. The Can you share like the general timeline for this project? So obviously this is the initial stage where you guys are starting to do really early outreach, but when does DEQ hope to have a nutrient strategy kind of published and completed?
Yeah, that is a great question. So the survey is ending on Tuesday, and then in May, that's when Oregon's Kitchen Table will be hosting community forums. And then come spring and summer, well, during the community forums, they want to be able to share insights from the survey. And then come spring, we are actually hoping to hire a consultant, like a third-party consultant, to really develop out this more robust nutrient strategy, partly based on a lot of the feedback that we hope to gather through the survey and through the community forums. And that process, then once we hire a consultant, that will be ongoing for the next year or so. I also just want to encourage you all to go on the website and look at the information. I know there is a timeline and I can't access it because I don't have access to our sites right now due to some technical difficulties. So I'm sorry, Isaac, I cannot
It's
answer
okay.
that question more specifically.
Yeah, I didn't see the timeline on the website. So
Okay.
maybe it's not up. I mean, unless I'm looking in the wrong spot, but I see the Oregon Kitchen Table stuff and then the request for proposal section, but not an overall project timeline.
Okay.
Just
So I know that we'll be working with Oregon's Kitchen Table like through the spring, and then beyond that, we'll be working more with a consultant. And as that information becomes more clear, I am very happy to provide updates on that so that, you know,
Great.
everyone understands the process. And another aspect of that you can access through the website is you can sign up to get on DEQ's Gov Delivery, email updates, and our nutrient strategy team and the folks who are leading that will be sending out updates. And so, like, that's how I'm getting my updates too that I'm sharing with you all. So if you do want to be privy to what that process looks like and the timeline it's unfolding on, definitely encourage you to there's like a Facebook group and an Instagram group and Gov Delivery email updates, and that would be the most immediate way to be up to date on how that process is unfolding.
So I know I was asking Taylor lots of questions, but just for the rest of the group, ODA is participating with DEQ in that, like, they've engaged us as a partner agency that has, you know, regulatory oversight of nutrients in for like the CAFO program and in other spaces. And so Kevin Finn, our water quality program manager, has been engaging with the team that's doing this nutrient strategy as our main point person, but also obviously like the CAFO side of the program within the agency and others will feed into that and make sure that we're engaging from an agency side of things as this goes forward. But just so folks know that ODA is engaged as a partner agency and giving some feedback to DEQ as we go along as well.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yep.
I know I've said this a million times now, but yeah, thank you all for your questions and your insights. This is exactly the kind of feedback we love to get through the survey. And if you have more ideas about how we can effectively engage the CAFO community and our ag producers across the state, I would love your insights because I am not the expert. You all are the on the ground experts. So if you have ideas for how to effectively engage the community in this process, please feel free to reach out to me, and we will, make sure to do our best to include that perspective more thoughtfully. I have to run, but I'm going to drop all these links in the chat, and if anything else comes up, please reach out to me, and happy to work with you.
Perfect. Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks, Isaac.
Okay. let's just keep going with industry updates, and then we'll see if we've got any other folks that want to do general public comment at the end. So does EPA have any updates for the group? Tony, you got anything to share? How's things going with
Isaac,
our federal
if Nick was
partners?
here, he probably would, but I don't.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Our NRCS folks.
Yeah, I don't have much other, we're just, one of the federal folks taking a beating every day and looking for those colorful emails. But no,
Yeah.
nothing myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Joshua?
Yeah, well, I'll just say that we always have services available to CAFOs to write CNMPs and to do engineering practices and to do CNMP's comprehensive nutrient management plan. It's a little bit different than the nutrient management plan. And we're working on getting some technical service providers certified to do those because you have to have those to be able to do some of the practices on CAFOs and get financial assistance through our programs, EQIP and CSP.
Can you talk a little bit about like the difference between the CNMP and the NMP and, what somebody should is it substantially different or?
So the content is typically similar, but we have our standards for, so it'll be a different format. It will be, so a nutrient management plan, usually you intend to do everything in it, but a comprehensive nutrient management plan addresses all soil, all water, and all air concerns on the place. So there might be stuff in it that you're not ready to do, but it's planned long in the future. And so it's kind of like a Cadillac plan, and you can pick and choose from it what you get financial assistance for in our programs.
Okay, so you use that future looking component to say, hey, like I'd really love to do X and I'm looking
Right.
for some grant funds to move that forward or whatever.
Right. And so like any existing practices that you have out there might not meet our standards. So we would write the plan to where it would meet our standards, but for where you're at right now, that what you have might be sufficient for you.
Mm-hmm. Katie?
Hi, thanks for joining us today. I have been out in the field with producers, and I've heard from one producer concerns about where things are falling, I guess, in terms of federal changes. So I just want to confirm. So you all are still working towards certifying more TSPs, and are you still issuing grants? Are you still giving funding? Where are those things at?
So some of the funding that we've had has been frozen. We're supposed to be paying on stuff that was already contracted, but the Inflation Reduction Act funds that we had, those have been frozen, so we're not doing new grants on those yet.
Okay.
But we still have our Farm Bill funds that we can put contracts in the Farm Bill funds.
Okay. And are you still increasing NRCS capacity?
No, we're decreasing capacity
Okay.
mostly now, but I am working with getting another TSP certified, and we already have 2 TSPs certified to write those comprehensive nutrient management plans. Yeah, and that's the first step before you start doing the other practices that we can fund through the Farm Bill programs.
Okay. And then are those TSPs outside of NRCS? Are they like private contractors?
Yeah, they're third party.
Okay.
They're private contractors.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
So one of the things that, to Katie's point, like one of the things we hear a lot from, prospective new permittees or even existing folks who are wanting to make updates or changes is there's not a lot of folks that are trained and specialized to help support them in that. And so they're kind of like, we don't know what to do. And we've been having internal conversations about what do we do as a state to help educate folks, not provide the service for writing folks plans. I don't think the regulator should be writing your plan for you, but finding other ways to do some outreach and education. And so it might be a good idea. I know we're exploring like what kind of like a framework or some presentations or roadshow would look like on that side of things, but connecting with you, Josh, on maybe like doing some joint discussions around that with folks around the state, just to really help producers get more information about how to approach things. The one thing I find frustrating sometimes is when we get a plan and it's got stuff in there that's like it doesn't really relate to their operation. It's kind of, the operator didn't necessarily write it. They had help writing it, and it's like, well, what does this actually mean? That I'm not sure that's totally relevant. And so just helping folks know and like own that plan, like that's your plan, and how to approach it. They don't have to be rocket science, but yeah, finding more resources for folks, I think would be great.
Yeah, and I'm definitely working with some of our field offices to try and get them able to write these comprehensive nutrient management plans, and I'm working on getting them to be more useful for the landowner.
Great.
And I would definitely like to go out and talk to the communities that you go to and talk about the services that we can provide and the financial assistance that we can provide.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Okay, is there any other folks that want to provide an industry update? We want to hear more about eggs. Is there any more to hear about eggs?
Well, I can tell you that the eggs are a commodity traded based on supply and demand. They have national, regional quotes, and that's what shortages related to bird flu has driven the supply down. Demand stayed fairly steady for a long time, so prices rose. Demand tailed off as a result of the prices being so high at the retail level. So now we have had a turn at about a 5% decrease in the quoted value of eggs on the commodity market in the last 5 weeks. So the prices are coming down, at the farmer level, producer level. It will, we can't control what happens at retail.
Yeah.
So it is to give you, I've been in this industry for 40 some odd years. I've never seen egg prices do this. We had a commodity quote for a large cage-free egg at over $10 a dozen. Now, most trades with retails and others are something based off of variance relative to that market with a lot of freight and other factors factored in. In the last 5 weeks, that has dropped to just over $5, $5.40 or something, $5.30, and it continues to go down. So from the commodity quote and the prices on the general market for distribution across the country, prices have fallen substantially. They, in some part, to consumers backing off because of the high prices, but also some of the birds that were lost to bird flu last year are now back in production, starting to have an increase in produced inventory. So I suspect, barring something horrible with bird flu again, that you should begin to see prices at retail level on down for the next several weeks. It kind of plateau. So there's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel here. We're coming out of it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That's really interesting. Anyone else have industry updates? Okay. Is there anybody here that wanted to just provide general public comment?
I just have a general question.
Yeah.
I know that at their previous meeting last fall, we were talking about whether or not the department thought it was necessary to conduct a rulemaking or put together a rulemaking advisory committee and go through a rulemaking process for the nutrient application permits that came out of SB 85. Do we have an update on the game plan for those permits, or what do you think?
Thanks, Alice, for bringing that up. Um, so I don't think we need a rulemaking to actually develop and issue the permit. It would go through a normal public comment process like what we're doing for the general NPDES permit. Um, the rulemaking that we did last year around like when is one required and the rules that went into that effect then, I think cover that, and then the permit specific requirements would, I think, be done through the permit itself at this point. In terms of a timeline for that, we're really trying to prioritize these bigger general permits due to their impact across the state of not having them to either issue or update or change. So we'll do the NPDES, the general, and then the nutrient application permit, which it won't necessarily benefit from the same writing of this first general NPDES permit because it won't be to that scale as a nutrient application permit of someone receiving CAFO nutrients. But yeah, that's kind of the timeline that we're thinking about as of now. I will say that provided we get a manager hired and on board, there are two positions that staff positions within the program that are vacant. We're waiting to fill the manager first. And so one of them is an inspector, but the other is a full-time permit coordinator. So where Katie's a part-time permit development and inspector, this other position will be full-time permit. And so I think we may be able to increase the pace once we get those resources on board. Yeah, Amy.
Yeah, apologize for joining late. I had another obligation, and I know you already covered the NPDES general permit renewal process, but I just wanted to, and forgive me if you already said this, just make sure you're aware of the recent summary judgment ruling from the Pollution Control Hearings Board in Washington on Washington's general NPDES permit for dairies, just in terms of where the Department of Ecology, kind of admitted that their permit wasn't sufficient in some ways, and so I assume you'll be taking all those into account, as well as the past court decisions in Washington and the Ninth Circuit.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that. Yeah, and earlier when we were talking about it, I did mention that like part of what we're considering as we go through, and the reason we have slowed this process down was to learn some lessons from our neighbors. So both Idaho and Washington. So like that is kind of part of what we're viewing the lens through as we draft this. So yeah, thanks for that call out though. All right, any other comments for the good of the order? Great. Well, I really appreciate everybody taking the time. I know there were some conflicting other things going on today, like the Waste to Worth conference and some other stuff. So appreciate people carving out a bit of time to hear our updates. And then please, if you have feedback, certainly on how things you'd like to see or hear at these meetings or our annual reports for the program, send them in. We want the feedback. So thanks all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.